It's just I wasn't prepared to wait longer to get paid. I mean, paid to get really paid. I just wasn't prepared, and the next best earners that I saw next to me were my clients, who were the owners of the properties, and the clients that were the most successful, the ones that owned the biggest properties and had the most properties, they had the most money. So I decided I needed to do that. I needed to be the owner. I needed to own apartment buildings and blocks because I needed more cash flow, more properties, and I needed to do it in jumps, leaps, quantum leaps.
What's going on, people, and welcome back to the Blackprint, providing aspiring black entrepreneurs and business owners the blueprint to start your success story. I'm your host, Spainy, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. I would say he's in the building, but I'm actually in his building. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm joined by Anthony Laville. What's going on, bro?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Nah, no worries at all. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest on the show. I think it's an interesting story, that one, actually, because obviously we met on Saturday. Today is Wednesday for transparency for the listeners out there or the watchers, and so we've turned this around pretty quickly, actually. So
That's how it's got to be.
I do appreciate that, man. I do appreciate that. How's the morning been?
Yeah, cool. Just usual running around, and usually involves some kind of madness with the kids. getting some semblance of some normal activity after that madness. So yeah, all good.
I hear it. Kids plural. How many are we talking?
Just two.
How old are they?
7 and 5.
Nice. Yeah, I've got a little boy myself. He's going to be 2 tomorrow. So
oh wow.
Yeah. So
you got your hands full.
Yeah. Wow. But you've been there, so you're.
Yeah. I've been there a couple of times now.
No, brilliant. So look, Anthony, for those who don't know who Anthony Laville is, who are we?
I'm in a business sense, I'm founder of Volume Property. We're a property investment and development company. We build from the ground up student accommodation, residential apartment buildings, and we also own and operate commercial properties, industrial units, car parks, and that sort of thing.
Nice. So a big player in the property game. So as I understand it, you've actually been somebody who's always wanted to kind of be in business for yourself and never really wanted to go down the kind of corporate life or anything like that. So I imagine I know this isn't your first kind of venture into business. So talk to me about the beginnings, because at the Blackprint, we're all about kind of the start, why you started, where you started, how you started. And so if we're talking a few businesses ago or whatnot, talk to me about what things were looking like then.
Damn, I've always had some kind of hustle. I'd say the first thing that I can remember from a child is trying to sell toys, my old toys. On the street where we lived, there was some neighbours a few doors up, and the kids were doing the same thing. And I thought, wow, this is a great idea. As they say in business, right, there's no new ideas. And so we just copied and started selling little toys on the street, and then the odd kid would come back asking for a refund, and you got to try and figure out that situation to try and not refund them that money. So, customer satisfaction and all that. So that's one of the first, I guess, business-related things. But there's always been little hustles that I've tried, like, buying and selling cars unsuccessfully, or I've tried to, at university, we tried to put on some coach trips, for like clubbing trips, unsuccessfully. What else have I done unsuccessfully? There's little side hustles, like like a VoIP phone service type company. I've just tried always little hustles. But the first thing that actually stuck was a lettings business when I was a student. So fast forward to being 19 years old, I went to the University of Leicester, and I was on a viewing. So when you're first year, you're normally leaving student halls. Second year, you normally
That might go somewhere private.
yeah, you go private, or you know, you got to fend for yourself. Basically, you got to go and find your own accommodation with your friends or by yourself, whatever it is that you're doing. So we went out looking for accommodation. Me and my 3 friends went out looking, did a few viewings. Went to one viewing. There was a landlord there who was at the viewing with the letting agent who was showing us around. This landlord then, might I say, wasn't a bad looking landlord.
I was wondering where you're going with that.
she was probably, she might have been mid-40s, late 40s, and, you know, Italian. And she kind of like took me to the side and like slipped me her number on a piece of paper. And I just, you know, my you know, I'm a young man. My mind was, you know, thoughts were flying.
As they would.
I can't lie, thoughts were flying. Then I came to my senses and thought, okay, this must be for something. And then she said, you know, call me, I've got other places to rent. I was like, oh, okay.
A guy can dream though, right?
Okay, man. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. So I did just that, quarter afterwards. Later that day, I thought to myself, hang on, I've got friends that are looking for student accommodation. This is a portfolio landlord. She's got other properties. Let me see if she'll be interested if I find her tenants and will she pay me a fee. So I sent her a text, look, I've got friends looking for accommodation. If I find them, will you pay me a fee? She said yes. And I was like, shit, I'm onto something here. So then I started to line up students. Then I went online, looked for properties to rent that were on the open market that were for rent by landlords. So you know, like student accommodation websites and accommodation for students and whatnot, where landlords would rent will advertise their properties to rent. I would then call them up and say, hi, I'm part of the Management Society at the University of Leicester, which I was. Sound really official. Part of the Management Society at the University of Leicester. We're running a tenant find service. Just interested to know if you're looking for students for your property. Invariably, they say, yes, we are. How much is it? And then I tell them how much it was. It was dirt cheap. Might have been £25 a tenant or something, really cheap.
As in that was the fee you were charging?
That's what I'd be charging at the time. It was really cheap. Whatever it was really cheap. And they say yes. And then I went out, you know, trying to grind, looking for tenants. I never really made much money from it. Until I graduated and I thought, look, I'm onto something here. I've done a bunch of viewings. I've got a bunch of potential clients. Rather than get a graduate job, let me just see if this thing works out. And that was 15 years ago. And that was my first proper foray venture into business. And I've not
looked back ever
since. Worked for anyone since. Somehow been out here surviving. somehow made it through to the other end.
Love that. And here we are in well, I thought it was a brand new office, but you said you've had it at least, 3 years?
3 years now, yeah. But we fitted it out, so it's a nice office. It
is very nice.
We went for like a sort of I wanted it to look slightly like an apartment. So
when I stepped into the bathroom, I thought it was.
Look, that bathroom costs a lot of money. You might have to put a picture in the video. It's a nice bathroom. It's a little light inside the unit. So we
I expect nothing less from a property developer.
Hey, so I knew this had to be a representation of the kind of effort we go to when it comes to our development. So whenever someone visits, I want them to be surprised and impressed. Unfortunately, that tends to be the sort of impression that we get when people come here, which is nice because it took a lot. I mean, this was harder to do than some of my bigger developments.
Really?
Oh my God. Like intricate details and dealing with the builder, and because it's a smaller type of builder, it's not as fixed and written, and then working out all the little design. I mean, there's a lot of little small design elements that we put here that you know the average person wouldn't notice, but then I've worked it down to a T. You know, what desk is going in where, how much space do you need, how much space between the island and the kitchen, and all that kind of details, right? So
you thought of it all. No, good stuff. All right, so you're in university. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I met many people during uni who were thinking about even side hustles, to be honest. All of us were just struggling to get through uni, to be honest with you. So you obviously touched on the fact that at a young age, you were trying to sell toys and you went into cars and all this type of stuff. Where fundamentally did all of that kind of, the entrepreneurial mindset come from to just not want to work from somebody straight out of uni type of thing?
I think from young, not in a in a massively defiant way, but I just didn't really like being told what to do. I wanted to be my own man. So I knew I wanted to make my own money. We didn't come from a lot of money. And so I knew that that was sometimes a limiting factor in our household. So I knew for one, I wanted money so I could have more choices basically. And I just wanted to do my own thing. So I remember wanting to be older a lot quicker so I could work and make money. So that I think that's just natural sentiment sort of thing. And what else? What was the other part of the question?
It was what was my question?
Fair enough.
My question was basically, where did entrepreneurial spirit come from, and how did you know that you didn't want to go in and work for somebody, basically?
Yes, I think natural. So that's natural, and then after that, I've just tried little. I'm going to call it hustles, and we are where we are.
And we are where we are. Okay, so it is, well, let's say 15 years ago. You have, as we've just touched on, started doing the student kind of
Lettings.
lettings and whatnot. Now, is property something that you always wanted to go into, or is it just because I'm kind of getting the impression you may be an opportunist as well? It's like if you see an opportunity, you grab it, right? And so, was property something that you had your eye on, or is it just because you went on this viewing and?
Correct. One thing I will say is I used to watch shows like Dragon's Den, and I already knew I wanted to be a businessman from primary school. I just wanted to be a businessman that comes in, makes decisions, somewhat tells people what to do, but not in a bossy way, just I can get shit done, listen to me, I'm the guy kind of way, and I can make some success, right? Business success. So I always had this vision of being a businessman. And when shows like Dragon's Den came on, it was like, oh my God, this is my kind of thing. And so I look forward to consuming stuff like that. So beyond that, I would say, no, I wasn't interested in property. It was at the time I thought it was just a way to make money, and that's what I've done. And then from being a letting agent, it's then evolved into, shit, I need to make some real money. I'm not going to make. I know some letting agents making a lot of money, but I want to make millions, and I couldn't see how I was going to make personally millions from being a letting agent doing student lettings. I did it for a few years, tried it, it wasn't working, had to switch it up. I'm not going to keep doing the same thing and getting similar results. So, I was getting some marginal success. I got to 6-figure profits, but it took years, and I wasn't prepared to wait longer to get paid. I mean, paid to get really paid. I just wasn't prepared, and the next best earners that I saw next to me were my clients, who were the owners of the properties, and the clients that were the most successful, the ones that owned the biggest properties and had the most properties, they had the most money. So I decided I needed to do that. I needed to be the owner. I needed to own apartment buildings and blocks because I needed more cash flow, more properties, and I needed to do it in jumps, leaps, quantum leaps. I wasn't able to get the kind of wealth in a kind of time frame I needed by buying a property and another one and another one. I needed to do 50, 100, 200. That's what I needed to do. And so I went about trying to work that out. How do I do it?
Why are you in a rush to?
Rush.
To
Got to be in a rush, man. If you're not, man, people look around and the 20 years have gone. I look around and for me, I don't. I play football still 2-3 times a week. I'm one of the old guys there now. It's not good. I'm one of the old boys. I'm in my mid-30s and I'm one of the old guys. I don't like it, but I'm still keeping up with some of the younger men.
I hear it.
I'm still keeping up with some of them. They're in their mid-20s. They're telling me, "Oh, my legs have gone." I'm like, "You're 10 years younger than me, and your legs have gone. How's that?" So no, you gotta be moving quick, and you gotta quickly work out what's working, double down on it, what's not working, switch it up. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself. You're gonna look back and 5 years have gone, and you've made no progress, and that's something that really frustrates me. And there's been elements and there's parts of my life for sure where I've not moved quick enough or switched things up quick enough, and I look back and think that's been a waste. Some elements. So I think a lot of people can probably relate to that.
Yeah.
So you've got to be quick.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think I've moved quick enough. Sorry, I've not moved quick enough, and I'm working on moving a lot quicker and thinking a lot bigger.
Nice. So we'll come onto volume, of course, because that's the main thing right now. But I'm just curious in terms of, obviously you're in uni. You're what did you study, by the way? Business. So okay, fair enough. You're in uni. You're studying business, and you've tried, by the sounds of it, 2 different ventures during uni. So you said events, and you said obviously the student lettings business. How are you juggling all of that at a time? And the reason I'm even asking this question, because I know for you, you're probably thinking, mate, this was years ago while we were talking about this, but it's because, again, it's like the Blackprint is all about starting, right? And I feel for a lot of people, it's a thing where, oh, there's too much to do. Maybe people are out there juggling work or even university right now. They do want to start something. How are you finding that balance and juggling that?
Look, it's just how bad you want it. It sounds cliche. It is what it is. Look, if you're, let's say, it's like what I say about health. It's not important until it's the only thing that's important, right? It's not a priority until you're dying, and all of a sudden, nothing else matters. You're not interested in doing anything other than getting healthy. And that's the way I see anything you want to achieve, business, whatever it's, whatever it is you want to do. The way I see it, if you want it that bad, everything else becomes secondary and that becomes primary. And it's not about, see, look, this is how extreme I think. It's not about, oh, but I need to see my kids. It's no, I got to do the business first, and somehow I got to fit my kids in. If you had to put it on a scale of how bad you want it, and number 1 was, I don't want anything else as much as that, then everything else is secondary, right? You work out everything else around, well, how am I going to fit this in? Because this is my main target. This business I'm working on is my main target. How do I fit in the gym? This business is my main target. How do I fit in time to brush my teeth?
Yeah.
This business is my main target. How do I find time to go to the toilet? How do I find time to eat? How do I find time to see my family, my friends, watch TV? But people see it the other way around, so you don't want it that bad. It's not that important, is it? It's not that important. If you had an emergency call, God forbid, from a close family member, and it's 4 a.m. in the morning, and they've woke you up and said, it's an emergency, I need you to come right now. Are you going to get up, slowly put some nice clothes on, brush your hair, brush your teeth, wash your face? Or are you going to get out the door, fly, get the minimum possible thing you need to wear, keys gone to help? It's that. So it's like, what do you need? Well, where is your priority levels right now? Are you going to piss around, or are you going to get straight to it? So frankly, it's how bad you want it.
I'm going to take that brush your hair as a diss, because, bro.
Shit. I meant brush your beard. Are you going to brush your beard? Or are you going to grease down it? Are you going to grease down?
It's all love right here. All right, cool. And so talk to me again as well, because you obviously mentioned you kind of, this Italian estate agent, the lady who was, no, she wasn't an estate agent, so you owned the building, right?
So the letting agent, she was the landlord.
Oh, yeah, she was the landlord.
She was the landlord, so I was on a viewing, and yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me then about how you had that level of confidence that you'll be able to find people, because it's one thing saying, oh yeah, I've got students, but how are you even finding the students? How did you have that level of confidence to deliver
do you know
on it?
I've never had an issue of confidence. My biggest fear is not getting the end result, so it's just is what it is. Confidence is an interesting one. Confidence comes from self-esteem. If you see yourself in high regard and you put yourself on a pedestal, then you're not really worried too much about failing. You're not worried about letting others down. I'm more worried about letting myself down than I am others. Now, in business, it's different. If I've taken investment, for instance, then I definitely don't want to let anyone down in that sense, and I don't want to let customers down. But yeah, look, when it came to university and me actually juggling, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I was doing my work. Fortunately, I still got a 2-1 degree somehow. I think I scraped it. But I just had to give it a try. I wanted that bad, and it was, like I said, it was more about how do I fit the work in, because I'm doing this, and I just made sure I did the minimum necessary.
Yeah.
And and somehow it worked through. But you got to keep pushing. But again, there were periods where I didn't really eat because I was behind on an assignment because I'd left it that late. And so a lot of us have been there when you've been late with assignments. But what have you been doing?
Some people are playing video games.
Exactly, if you've been playing video games and you've been playing the video games. Yeah. I just happened to be doing other stuff. Like I would have been working on the business, and then I've left it late. So it's just priority, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember at uni, actually, funny enough, I mentioned earlier that I didn't know too many people doing the whole business thing. There was this one girl, actually, I remember she used to turn up to uni in a C class, and this was like, again, maybe similar. Yeah, this was like, 13 or so years ago now. She would turn up in a white C class, and never forget, and I'm looking, and we're all like, what's this girl doing? Anyway, I can't remember what the business was, but it turns out she was doing a business on the side, basically, so... Yeah, I take that back. I do remember one person. Well, wait, were you studying at all at uni then? Did you ever...
Funny enough, there was like this entrepreneurs group. So I know a few people that had businesses. Some are doing better than the others. There's no one actually like superstar. There's one or two that are doing really well though. So there's a few people in business-ish trying it. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself. It was like a little hustle. I don't really call it a proper business at the time because it wasn't really doing much for me. But I was trying it, right? I was trying to do something extra.
Yeah.
But these days, the students I meet in my buildings, a lot of them have, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
They have these side hustles. I remember talking to some and they were saying to me, you've got to have a side hustle.
Wow.
You have to. If you're not making money on the side, how are you living? That's what they said to me. So I'm meeting girls that are doing eyelashes, nails, hair, and I'll do it from them. I mean, they're not meant to, but I respect the hustle, right?
Yeah, of course.
As they say, respect the hustle. So they do it from our and guys, they'll do PT.
Yeah.
Or there's some that are chefs. They'll cook. Like there's all sorts. It's so interesting. So you've got to. There's plenty of students out there doing it, but hopefully they're also spending time on their education side of things and actually going to come out of a degree because that's part of the reason why they're at uni, right?
Yeah. Why did you go to uni?
Why? I was academically I was okay. I wasn't I wasn't like a superstar, but academically I could perform when I needed to, and so it was a natural step for me anyway. I was fine with academia.
Yeah.
So I always saw myself going to uni. It was just a natural step for me.
Fair.
And I didn't have a business idea or a job, anything outside of school directly to take me. So I was always going to uni. Then whilst at uni, in fact, there was a time during university I thought I was going to be a management consultant. I really liked the idea of that. Again, it's like being a businessman. I come in, see what the problems are, I come up with some solutions with the team, and boom, you go and do the work.
It's a good thing you didn't know. You're probably struggling right now then.
As a management consultant.
I feel
are there a lot of redundancies in that sector?
There's a lot going on in consultancy right now. Yeah.
Wow, I wasn't aware.
Yeah.
So probably a good job. So during uni, I thought to myself, actually, maybe what I'll end up doing is being a management consultant, work for that firm for a few years, and then set up my own thing. But I always knew I was going to set up my own thing. I kind of got to the point where I thought it's probably not going to happen for now. It's going to happen. It's going to happen 10, 15 years down the line.
Yeah. Okay. No, fair. So, but obviously the toys, for example, the events and the student lettings, I'll be interested to know, because with the student lettings business, you let that wind down, isn't it? You let that.
It wasn't really a business. It was like we'd put on another event.
No, sorry, the lettings.
Oh, the lettings. Yeah. So well, I'm on the lettings.
Yeah. And how long was that going for?
It was about 7 years.
7 years. Okay. And I guess you obviously mentioned in that you were thinking, I know you go by big deals only, so you were thinking at that point, I need to move on to the bigger stuff, and that's why you let it wind down, is it?
Yeah, I wanted to get out of it, and for me, my approach was I wanted to go all in on this new venture, which was being a developer and building my own buildings and then owning those buildings. And I knew that trying to do the lettings and being a developer wasn't going to work. I couldn't do both. I had to pick one. I knew that for sure. I had to focus. And so I went all in, basically, and just shut that down. It took me 2 years. So I shut that down. Started to try and work on a couple of deals on the side. Finally shut it down. I went all in on development, and then I had to make development pay me. So when I started getting partners in, I had to get creative with having to pay myself, starting from scratch. So then I had to take fees and project management fees and development manager fees from the deal early on, just to keep the lights on.
And so, what kind of lessons did you learn from? I know you said that Events Week wasn't a business per se, but still something that you could take learnings from. What kind of lessons do you think you learned from that experience, the Lettons experience, given obviously you ran that for quite a while, that you've obviously taken into what you're doing now?
Marketing is extremely important. And I would say definitely prioritize, especially now with what we can do on socials, prioritize how you market your business. Sales solves everything. So if you got sales and you got money coming in, you can work out the back office, the back systems, and quickly catch up. But work on sales. What's better than sales? Marketing, because marketing does all the work for you. Does all the grind and does all the work, and it makes your sales process so much easier. So you're not having to, force something down someone's throat. It's a much easier transaction when the marketing's being done. So I think the importance of marketing is powerful. What else have I learned? Things often cost more and take longer than you expect. So I like to try and work as quickly as I can and think big. I like to set bigger goals, because you falling short of a bigger goal is probably a better position than you falling short of a small goal. Because a lot of the time, sadly, a lot of people don't meet their goals, but at least if you're on the path or on the way to something. So I'd say, if you want me to go specific, let's say, so we put on an event, my friend and I put on an event on the club business. It was a coach event. We were going from Leicester to Manchester. And we had a coach booked, a bigger coach, and one of the bigger coaches, I can't remember how many seats there are on a coach, let's say there's 60 on a big coach. And we tried to sell tickets, tried it on Facebook, tried it in person, even stood at the front of lectures, at the end of the lectures, and tried to sell our tickets. We were short on tickets. So fortunately our backdrop was to book a smaller coach, and we did. So fortunately, instead of a 60, 70 seater or whatever it is, we got like a 30 seater. So we sold enough tickets for that, and then we broke even. In fact, I think it cost 40 quid in the end, so 20 quid for me and 20 quid for my friend. So it cost us 20 quid basically, and it was like, oh, fair enough. Yeah. We got there and back, got VIP because we were the organisers, got VIP, so that was cool. And lesson there was like, there was a good, there was some downside protection in that. So although we were thinking big in terms of the bigger coach, the downside protection was, right, if we don't sell enough tickets,
you could refer back.
We can downsize, and even worse, if you don't sell enough, we can cancel the coach, but you just need to cancel on time. And I let the coach company know what I was doing. Here's what we're doing. We're booking this trip. Tentatively, it's for this date. I'll come back to you by this date if we're still going ahead. When I went back to him, we hadn't made the sales for the bigger coach stuff, so I said, look, we haven't got enough tickets for this. Then it was like, well, you can get a smaller coach. So at that point, we didn't need to pay a deposit. I didn't risk a deposit. I didn't risk anything. It was a date that was far enough in the future where the coach company felt good enough to tentatively fix that date. So it's like, well, how do I protect my downside, and how do I make money? What's the way to make money, and how do I protect my losses, my downside? Like, you could do that in every business. Yeah. Like, some people want to start in a very expensive fashion, remortgage their house, or if they're earlier in the journey and they don't have that, put all their savings at risk or quit their job. It's like, well, that's stupid. Why would you want to take that level of risk? Why not test the market first and see what feedback you're getting from the market in terms of sales and interest, and then start to build up from there. I always, whatever venture I did or whatever venture I do, I test it first and make sure there's interest in it first before I go all in. To me, that's obvious, but for some people, somehow they think
throw the kitchen sink at it.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I'm quitting my job. I'm doing this. What do you mean quitting your job? So how are you covering your... So I say test the market.
Okay. Now you've probably triggered off a massive debate, or maybe even argument in a lot of offices right now for people who are working in offices listening to this by saying that marketing trumps sales, because I know that's a massive in the corporate world. That's a massive who's the better one, or who does more for the business type of thing. So
I'm talking first hand. In my own business, having generated millions, I know. I'm just talking my truth, so I get how others. I'm not saying sales aren't important, but in my own truth, the biggest ROI, the biggest and best ROI is marketing.
Now, from that, there's two questions I want to ask, because you also mentioned, obviously, the last point we were just touching on there was around people throwing the kitchen sink, leaving jobs, etc., not testing the market first before they go into a venture. So that brings us kind of nicely onto your transition from the lettings business into developing. So I'd like to touch on that in terms of what that transition looks like for you. But then also, I'll mention it now just in case I forget later, but around the marketing aspect of things, because obviously you're big on social media, and I'll be keen to touch on as well kind of that decision that you made to start on social media, and then obviously what that's done for your career ultimately. So maybe we'll tackle the transition first, and then we'll talk about the social media as well.
There was no transition. I had to start from scratch. Being a letting agent is completely different. Other than it being a property, there's two completely different worlds. It's like saying transitioning from being a GP to a dentist. You both got doctor at the front of your name, but you're doing two different things, right? There's no transition. I had to.
So how are you getting that proof of concept then?
I was a letting agent, so I knew. I knew what would work in the market because I'd done it for years, and I had let and managed properties. I knew what kind of location I needed to build a student accommodation block, and what rents I could charge, and therefore I could work out the value of that future asset in that location and work backwards. So I knew the market. Right, that's me. So I tested the market by working in it and the properties I managed and let. I had to learn from scratch. I had to learn everything from how construction works, how to work with a professional team. You know, what is groundworks, what's piling, what's a piling rig. I went into detail. What types of foundations are there? There's deep foundations, shallow foundations. There's raft foundations. I went into a lot of detail to understand how does this work? How does planning work? Who's in my team? Planning consultant, civil engineer. So I read a lot. I watched videos. There wasn't a lot of content out there, to be fair. And I still don't think there is. I watched a lot of videos. I read a lot of content, written articles. WikiBuild is an interesting website because
I've never heard of that actually.
So it's got a lot of construction property related terms in it. So that was cool for me because there's a lot of things I didn't understand. All these acronyms like GIA, NIA, JCT, EP, all these. There's so many acronyms, and so now it's just like a no part of your conversation. But when you're starting out, you don't know and you have to research. So yeah, it was just me. I basically had to reinvent myself.
Yeah. Okay.
It's another startup, basically.
Yeah. And so how did that start then? Because I know you mentioned kind of bringing on partners and investors and stuff like that. And I know that your first development wasn't a small thing.
No.
So talk to me, Anthony. What on earth, how do we get here?
I worked out that.
Just very quickly, sorry, before you answer, I'm sorry to cut you off there. For those who don't know, basically Anthony's first development, if I'm not mistaken, was a 70-unit student accommodation that you kind of saw, you bought, and that was your first development from lettings. So yeah, please let's delve into this.
So yeah, that's my first big development. I had little house deals on the side, but my first new build, big jump was straight. So for me, it wasn't a big jump. For me, it was in terms of managing and letting. We managed a bunch of properties anyway, so from a development perspective, it was a big jump. But from I'm left with a property at the end of this type perspective, it wasn't really that big of a jump for me, which helped. But again, you got to think big.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I realised whilst processing this, I'm a letting agent, I need to be a developer. I'm a letting agent, I need to go from this position to being a developer, owning sites, building them out, getting planning permission and whatnot. And every now and again I'd meet people. Someone successful, I'd say, if I find a deal, would you want to partner? And invariably they'd say, yeah, bring the deal along. Then I meet someone else, very successful developer or business person that's interested in property. Look, if I find a deal, would you want to partner? Would you want to do a deal together? They'd say yes. And then the conversation dies. And so I put the pieces together. I thought, well, I need a deal, right? I keep asking people if they're going to JV or do a deal with me, and they say yes, and then I've got nothing to show them. So I intentionally went about then deciding that I was going to stop everything I'm doing and look for a site. So I went out physically looking for sites. What helped to spur this on was my company was contacted by a landlord who had a building that he was converting into student accommodation. 58 beds, I think it was at the time. So he was converting his building, got in touch with us and said, look, we'll be finished in a few months. We need a company to manage this building once it's finished. And even though I was shutting my business down, so I was already in the process of shutting it down, but it was 58 beds, that's a decent deal, even for management. So I thought, I'm going to have to go out and see it and meet him anyway. I'm going to have to go and meet him because even though I'm shutting down, it's an interesting one. So I went out and met him, looked around. You might be listening to this, but it wasn't a very good job. It didn't look very nice. So I knew there was a good chance. I wasn't going to manage this anyway because it wasn't the best refurb. It was not looking good. Looked around. Checking out the views as well outside the property. Went popped my head out the window to the left of the building, and there was this old factory, and I said to him, who owns that? And he said, oh, some guy owns it. I'm going to buy that one day to develop it. And I thought, are you? And so that day, I went about looking for the owner's details of the guy next door. Somehow found it. I ended up finding, so I went on LandReg, which is a public record database of land ownership in the UK, so you can see who owns it. So I went there, saw the person's name on it. The guy's name was on there. Googled his name, tried to find his contact details, couldn't find it. I went to Google Street View on the building because I'd seen there was a sign on it that was like a banqueting hall. It used to be. It wasn't then. So I went onto Google Maps. I thought, let me just go to Google Maps and see what was here before. And I went back, on Google Street View, you can click back and go back in time.
Yeah.
Top left corner. So I clicked the dates. Now, this is back in 2017. I clicked the dates and I went back a few years and I saw a number on there.
No way.
To let. So he was a landlord advertising his own property to let privately. So I called the number. It's the same guy, the same owner. So I just asked him, look, would you up for selling? He said, no, not really. I've been messed around before and, I'm not, not really. I said to him, how much were you offered before? What did you agree? And he told me 400k. And so I knew I had a price for him from him then at that point. So I said, look, if I can get 400k, if you give me a bit of time to get planning permission, then myself and my team, we can deliver this project and buy it from you. And okay. So I went off. I had to find a professional team then to try and get planning permission. I went to, look, for people in the industry and out there that understand this, it makes sense to you. To me, it didn't make any sense. I went to a planning consultant at the time, and I thought they would be the one to design the scheme for me, put up a feasibility plan, tell me how many units I can build, blah, blah, blah. But a planning consultant only advises on the policy aspect. So I got in touch with this planning consultant and said, look, here's a scheme I'm looking at, this is what I need. They then sent me a list of things that I would need to progress the development. And one of them was an architect. And I thought you were the architect. I thought you did that. So it sounds, this is how little I knew.
Yeah.
I did not know I looked on the company's website, had all these projects that had been involved in. So I was like, yeah, you obviously designed it. You got planning on it. No, they were just a consultant on it. So then I was like, oh shit, so I need to find an architect. And I'm looking for an architect. Anyway, they put a plan together, told me what I can build. I worked out the calculations. So I had to work out what would the building be worth. I called up a couple of clients and said, what do you think this would cost, this sort of thing? What does student accommodation cost you to build and how do you value it? So they gave me an idea on how to value it. So I had to call people up and say, how do you do that? And I created my own basic calculations then about what the property would be worth. And I think I worked out I could pay something like, I'm sure it was something like 800 to £1 million. I worked out I could pay for the land.
Including the planning.
Yeah, if it had planning permission, I worked out that the land, if it was good to go, ready to go with planning, I worked out it would probably be worth something like 800.
Okay, yeah.
800 grand, maybe a bit more. Yeah. So I said to him, I think I can make 400 grand work. And so we could tentatively agree something. I then went back. Now I needed a partner, so I went back to my clients.
Yeah.
That way, my lettings business, and I started putting the proposition to them. And you know, I probably approached 4 or 5. Out of 4 or 5 of them, I think out of 5 of them, say 4 of them were interested. 2 of them were terms that I just couldn't get jiggy with. They were like nonsense terms, like you know, you have 5% of the deal type thing. I have 95%, and you know all that nonsense. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So I'm not in that for this. And there was 2 people that supplied terms that I were happy with, that we agreed basic terms, and then I just went with the person that I knew the longest. So one of my clients at that point I had known for probably maybe 5 years at that point.
Okay.
And I liked him the most, and we got on well. So I chose him to work with. And it's had its moments, but it's been great.
Yeah.
He's my partner now to this day. So and I know his kids, and like you know, their kids are a few years younger than me, but back then they were a lot younger.
Yeah.
So now they're like, you know, one of them's getting married now. Wow. He's like 30. So it's mad. Time just go really fast. But you know, so yeah, that's kind of like the medium to short version.
Yeah. No, brilliant. What I like about that is, I know we touched on kind of confidence earlier, and confidence not being an issue for you, but just ultimately, at this point, it kind of sounds like you're going off a bit of vibes, a bit of, you've obviously been in property doing the lettings, although not, I know you've made a distinction that lettings and development are 2 very different things, right? But a bit of vibes, a bit of, okay, I know that this could work, and you just ran with it. No overcomplicating nothing, just ask a question. You don't know something, go ask the question, figure it out.
I think that's my favourite word. Ask. It's biblical, isn't it? Ask and you shall receive. That's changed my life. Asking.
I like that.
People are afraid to... it's nonsense. The worst case scenario is someone tells you to piss off. And I've had that. F off, put the phone down, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to call the police, I'm going to report you. I've had that. Yeah.
Just to make sure you were bringing a deal to the table that could make the money.
No, not that.
Okay.
Not specifically for getting investment or getting a partner. I mean, I might have had that, but more so for. I mean, if I can think back to my letting days, I used to cold call landlords.
Yeah.
Cold call. You think I wasn't scared? You think I wasn't nervous to pick up the phone? Of course, I was nervous. I'm a human being. 19 years old, calling up someone, you know, at least double my age, saying, "Can I sell you this?" Of course, I was nervous. But I had a bigger fear for not having a success. So I'd build up my confidence. Call. Ring. Hi, I'm calling from this. But and then when I graduated, I couldn't use that line anymore because I wasn't at the university.
Oh, because you use a
management society. Yeah. Official. So I couldn't use that when I graduated, so I was cold calling again. And do you know what kept me going? I wasn't going to give up. I wasn't going to fail, and I wasn't going to go get a job. And that I had 2 options: be rejected on this call, or accepted, or go and get a job because I failed. This one
wasn't an option.
That wasn't an option.
Yeah,
wasn't an option. So I just take, bang, go, call, hi. No, not interested. I didn't call back the same person. I'd call them back. Hi. Oh, I'm so sorry. Something seems to have happened with the line there. Just
classic.
Just disconnected. Hung up again.
Yeah.
So I'd call back again. Hi. I'm terribly sorry. I have absolutely no idea what's going on there. It was me. I hung up on you.
Don't tell me you called a fourth time.
I've called a fourth time. And then they just don't answer. So sometimes, genuinely, I used to get a bit of a kick out of it. Oh, God.
You're wrong for that.
I'm telling my truth.
You're wrong for that.
I'm speaking my truth, man. I had one person, she told me she was going to report me to the police. And that was just nonsense. But then, most of the time, people would be like, okay, I'm interested. What is that you've got? How much is it? Blah, blah, blah. And then you'll meet one. So I had one. So one of my first clients was a guy called Ron. And cold called him. Ron. Cold called him, found his details online. He said, yeah, come down. And then you'd slowly discover he had another property, and then another property, and another property. That's what these landlords did. They come out and say, I've got one. And you slowly start to find out they're a portfolio landlord.
Yeah.
And so he was a good client for me. He died a few years ago. So shout out to Ron. He put a bit of faith in me and we got on really well. And he saw... Obviously, he saw an opportunity to make money. Because he's getting lettings in, right? It's a service. And he gave me a shot. But there was other landlords that did the same thing. Some didn't, some did. It's, yeah.
And then it was these relationships that you leveraged on when it came to, you decided to...
Yes, some of them I called. So he wouldn't have been... No, he died before then, sadly. He died before I got into development. But he wouldn't have been someone I called for that because he wasn't a developer. He was a successful landlord. He had a bunch of student houses. And he was making good money. But he wasn't a developer. He wasn't someone that was building new build stuff. So I called the developer clients. I had clients that also built. So it was those clients that but you're right, it's those kind of relationships that I kind of leaned on. Even if I didn't really know them, I'd call them up and say, because people want to do deals, right? There's money out there. There's money to be made. There's opportunities. People want to do deals. Just like now, someone calls me, I'm in a position to get a deal done. So if somebody wants to do business with me and they reach out to me and it's a good opportunity and I like them and I like the opportunity and then I'm going to do it. Same way as if I reach out to someone else or if it's Richard Branson, I think, he still gets investment. Of course he does. I think if he reaches out to a party and they like, if they don't like the opportunity, they're not investing. If they like it and they like him, they're investing. So there's plenty of opportunity out there. It's just how without trying to sound generalist or cliche, it's just how bad do you want it? Go and get it. There's no excuse. Everything you want, somebody else has. Someone else has what you want. What you want is on the other side of a conversation or a phone call or an email or a text.
This podcast happening right now is living proof for that. I wanted to get you on the podcast. We had a conversation Saturday. Here we are.
Straight away. But you got to act on it, right?
Yeah. And so, talk to me then about, because you obviously mentioned around cold calling. I mean, I'm in recruitment, so I do cold calling myself as well. And I see, and I've worked with people, and just generally speaking, there's a lot of talk online about, well, I'm not going to say cold calling is dead, because maybe obviously when you started off that was a different time, but even still, cold calling is still cold calling, right? But the point I'm getting to is around your decision to maybe hone in and double down on cold calling as opposed to just hiding behind emails.
If I think cold calling is probably even more powerful right now, because people are emailing more, texting more, WhatsApping. Cold calling, I've not done much of it recently, but if I had to, it would be my go-to. I can see how cold calling would probably be the number one thing you could do right now. If I had to think about the direct, straight result right now. So we teach people how to get into development now. So if you're established in your field and you want to make a move into being a serious developer, then we teach you on our program. My number one method for getting in touch with owners is find their contact details and call them. That's number one. Number one. If you can find their contact details, which is a lot easier these days with the software out there, call them and speak to them on the phone. And in some businesses, it's a pleasure. So in a business like we're in, where we need commercial sites, and that's a factory owner. Look, hi, I'm a developer. I found you noticed you own a property at XYZ location in London. Are you interested in selling it? That's an easy call. Some might tell you to do one. Another one will say, okay, tell me what you're thinking. Perfect, you're in. My advice, number one, is to call. Just find the number and call. That hasn't changed. Cold calling is powerful. I like marketing because it does a lot of the work for you. So when you do make contact or they make contact, it's an easy sale.
Yeah.
But cold calling is powerful.
Yeah.
It's never going to go away. The power of cold calling, phenomenal.
Yeah. There ain't no tools out there sponsoring this podcast, but for people who are listening to this that might want to do, because I know, for example, on Saturday at the event, there was a lot of people and there was a lot of talk around kind of, I know it's not development, but talking about rent to rent, for example, rent to service accommodation, that type of stuff. And so, funny enough, even in the gym the other day, I was sat next to these two girls that were, I could just hear them bashing through the phones, calling people, just trying to, I think they were doing social housing, something like maybe rent to social housing or something like that. But I was just sat next to them in the gym, kind of working space. I just hear them smashing through the phones. I was so impressed. Funny enough, I saw them at the event.
They were there?
They were there on Saturday, yeah. I saw them at the event. Ultimately, what I'm getting at is tools that you found useful, basically, just for people who are listening. Maybe, where do I begin? What kind of tools? Because I know, for example, in my field, if you know someone's LinkedIn, for example, you can use things like Lusher or Apollo.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I thought you meant like to keep track.
No, more so to find contact details and be able to just start cold calling.
It might be that. Was it, you call it Lusher?
Yeah.
I think that might be the one where we recommended to our guys recently because someone cold called me. Fuck, I might need to get my details off that thing, actually. I got a cold call and I said, where'd you get my details? I'm pretty sure it was Lusher. And then we recommended it to people in our program because I hadn't come across it.
You know what's so funny about
that's
that?
to find people's details.
You know, when I was waiting outside, obviously I didn't have your number. I was going to use it.
You did?
I was going to, I didn't, but you turned up.
Oh shit! I need to get that removed before this podcast goes out. I love that.
I was literally about to, but then you turned up.
Yeah, see. So it's definitely that one then.
Yeah.
So that's a good tool, but we don't. I personally don't do it as much, but I would. And there's like some other, like I've got no issue. It's just not. It's a non-issue. I cannot tell you how much I would if there's anything that I was gonna do. I would prefer to do that's number one. So yeah, tool resource wise, you're probably better placed than me to suggest. But other than that, keep an Excel sheet.
Yeah.
Don't overcomplicate it. And if you want to use some other platform like Monday or something to keep track, or Asana or one of the others, fine. But it's not needed.
Yeah.
Just keep a spreadsheet for now.
To start.
Get on with it because it's another excuse.
This is it.
So it's another BS excuse. Oh, I'm not sure which software to use. I've done my research. Shut up, man. Just make the call. Just put it in a spreadsheet. Get on with it. It's just too much messing around. People want to mess around setting up websites.
It's facts. Yeah, I don't even have a website for my recruitment business yet.
See, I love that. I don't
even have a website.
Get on with it. So people who we advise in our program, we tell them not to set up a company on company's house. No website, nothing. If you send a letter, if you need to send a letter just has your name and your number on it. Has 3-4 sentences. None of this is my background, here's my life story, this is what I'm looking, please give me a shot. None of that rubbish. It's straight. Senior property at this location. If you're interested in discussing doing a deal or anything on it, any idea, let me know. Done. Keep it simple, because if you part of the issue is when you're starting out is you've got no track record.
Yeah.
And so for me, when it comes to something like that, depends what industry, and a website can help, but most of the time, not needed. It's just another thing for people to look into what you haven't done.
Yeah.
It's just, there's nothing there to hold on to. Just get on and make the call, and then you'll quickly get business. Easy. It's easy.
You know, it's funny as you said that, it being another reason for people to look at what you've not done. My last my last episode that's just released with Samuel Brooksworth, he's got a thing. He was on The Apprentice to show The Apprentice, right? And he was talking about how if you don't say much, there's not much to edit. And so it's kind of funny that what you're saying there is like, if you don't want to give them too much, they start finding reasons to not work with you type of thing, right? So yeah, that's funny.
A show like Apprentice, you've got to be careful, right? Because they just start chopping.
Exactly. So that brings us then on to the social media point. So why did you make clearly a conscious decision to get onto social media, and what's that done for you?
I think I started social media in the early days. I realised the power. What helped me realise it? I think there's been a few factors, like guys like Daniel Priestley, who's been banging on about key person of influence, like for years. Guys like Richard Branson. Like Richard Branson is a special case because, not because he needs some additional help, but he's special because he used media to his advantage decades ago when he had limited budgets, and he was somehow good at getting a lot of attention for the stunts he did and other things in his Daredevil activity. And so he did it prior to social media, and he was able to garner attention from the press. Now, we're in a time now, and if you look now, he's still active on his socials. I mean, I'm nowhere near as active as him, and I should be. The guy's like double my age, and what excuse have I got? So now we're in an interesting time now where we get to control the content and the output. Yeah. And you're based on the quality of the content, generally.
Because it's no longer like a BBC coming to interview you and then they can edit how they want.
And they may not even come to interview you. Yeah. Who's to say they're going to come out and return your call? And in fact, you're better off being on the socials than you are on BBC. You're better off being on YouTube than you are on Channel 4. If I had a choice now, be the biggest person on BBC or be the biggest person on YouTube, I'm just choosing YouTube.
Yeah. You control the narrative that way, innit?
I control the narrative, but also I'm bigger. BBC is not as big as YouTube. Yeah. They just can't be. The audience is not as big.
Well, funny is you just referenced Richard Branson. I was reading something very recent actually, or maybe I've seen it a few times, but it was talking about how Richard Branson as a brand is bigger than Virgin.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Branson. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It is because people, there's the simultaneous, right? Some people might know, I'm not sure how many people actually know Virgin and not know Richard Branson. I'd be interested to understand. Yeah, it's so anyway. So when I did start with social media, I just found the return on investment was just insane. I put out a piece of content, like even the other day, I put out a piece of content out that we shot in here. Actually, quickly put it out. And I was saying, we don't just do student accommodation, we do other things in property. I had messages directly from that post saying, Anthony, do you have a unit here, 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 and here? Like 2-3 messages. And that was just one little thing I said within that post. Yeah. And I said a bunch of things in that post. That is marketing. That is marketing. Now, I could very easily take those referrals and put them in touch with people I know and say, here, speak to this person, and then make a little kickback. So that's a way to make money. Or if I have the unit directly that they're asking for, I rent that to them. So there's instant returns like that. There's instant wins from social media marketing. Credibility-wise, you get invited to a lot more events. People know who you are. Famous people who know who you are. It's mad. You know, I went to this event, this award show, and I knew a guy there. He was actually security for some people that were performing, and it was So Solid crew. And the security guy now, he runs a firm, Ty, from a security firm in Birmingham, said to me, come meet these guys, And he took me over to Mega Man from So Solid.
No way.
I said, you need to meet Anthony, man. Anthony's doing some cool things in Birmingham development. And Megan was like, I know who Anthony is. I'm like, yo,
Yeah, that's mad.
21 seconds to go.
Come on.
I'm like, how does he know who I am?
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's mine. Like, that was obviously, that was part of a lot of people's childhood. Like, the whole soul selling thing. So the fact he knew who I was, it's mad. Like, for me, that's mad. I just find it crazy. So that's just like one example. Like, I've had like a bunch of like, that's just one of the cool aspects. I'm not saying I do it for that, but one of the cool aspects is you have like, end up meeting celebs and you end up meeting business people, property people. I've raised money, like millions from social media. I've done deals from social media, multi-million-pound deals. I've done, just gone to cool events. I've met cool people. And what's also great about it is, what's essential is the people you do meet are kept up to date with what you do. Because they'll forget you and you'll forget them. So I like following people that I've met because I can see what they're up to. And then also, people you've met are kept up to date with what you do. And then it's unbelievable. I will meet someone, let's say we meet now, 3-4 years time now, we've just, every now and again we'll message, hi, how you doing? Yeah, good. I might see you at the odd event over the next 3-4 years. But technically we've not spent that much time together. You'll have a good feel for me either way and go like, this guy is a good guy, bad guy. This is what he does. I've known him. He also knows these people. I think I can vouch for him. This is just how it works. I'll then come across an opportunity or something will happen. You'll meet someone else that is in a position of influence. Let's say I've got a real estate deal I'm looking to do. And you happen to know the CEO of that company who's connected to that real estate deal. And you say to that CEO, oh, I know Anthony. I've known him for 4 years. He's a good guy. And his company's doing really cool stuff. I can't buy that. I can't buy that referral, but that came from us meeting, then following each other on social media. I do posts, you see updates, you get a feel for me, I get my credibility built because I'm just passively posting. You see that stuff and go, this person's active, they're up to stuff. And then I get another deal after. But there's things that you can't see. There's indirect benefits. There's benefits in the background, subliminal things that are going on, I guess, below the surface that you just can't measure. Yeah. And that's the cool thing. There's things going on like that all the time for people that are on socials that you cannot measure. That helps. And then there's also direct benefits of someone seeing you and then wanting to do business with you because they've followed you for a while. So there's powerful things like that. Yeah. The return on investment is just immense. I'm actually, one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm repositioning my business to free me up to spend, I would like to say, I'm going to say the majority of my time working on media-related activity. Majority, I would say. I'm still obviously going to be working hands-on in my businesses, but the return I get from media, I just can't. You're a fool if you're not looking to propel social media, and preferably your face should be in front of the camera. And if it's not, fine, but in some form, something should be in front of the camera. It's my opinion. Fact.
You guys heard it here. Funny enough, I was speaking to a lady on Saturday. She's recently started out her property journey, and she was saying around, I think I asked her, are you on social media? And she was like, not really. And I think every time somebody mentioned, get on social media, and I was nudging her like, are you hearing this? So yeah. By the way, the So Sorry reference was killed me because I'll never forget. I think I got the first They Don't Know album. And I remember my mum looking at it, and I remember she was like, Darren, what is this? Who are these people? I said, Mum, that's the crew that I'm going to be in when I'm older.
Oh, serious?
So yeah, when you said So Solid is our childhood, honestly, So Solid was my childhood, man. Yeah, they were before their time, and they were too good. But all right, so what do you do? And you just touched on it just now in terms of the post that you made that got you a bit of business, right? So obviously we've mainly spoken about your first kind of big development, 70-unit student accommodation. What other stuff are you involved in? Because obviously that was a few years ago now at this point, right? And you've done a few things since then.
Yeah, so We own and operate. We've got everything from HMOs to residential apartments to. We got a cool one at the moment. Actually, recently got planning permission, just a few weeks back on a student accommodation block, 20-story tower, 280 beds. So that's a cool one.
In Brum?
Yeah, that's central Birmingham. So that's a cool scheme. That took a little while to get through, but I mean, it's a tower. Something to be proud of to get that delivered.
Yeah, I heard anything over 8 stories. Maybe it's sort of
yeah,
again,
everything over 7 stories classed as a high risk building. It's
Yeah.
a tall building now, so there's just further requirements relating to building the Building Safety Act and fire related items. So it's a bit more challenging now.
Yeah, I can imagine.
In development. What else? We're working on converting an old factory, a mill. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff we got going on. It's just we're deal led, and so we're looking at some commercial unit, commercial multi-let commercial premises next week. That's something that we can buy. It's already split into multiple units for the commercial sector, and our plan is just to buy it, improve the units by doing work to it, and then rent them at a higher rent. That's kind of cool stuff we're working on. So it's just general. I mean, that you'd consider value add because it's an existing building and you're doing work to it and some improvements. So it varies just across the real estate space.
Yeah.
But we're doing less management now, so we're looking to. So traditionally, we've managed a lot of what we do in house.
So manage the buildings that you built, basically.
Yeah, to manage buildings we've built, and not just ones we've built, ones that existing properties we've bought,
so
that have tenants in,
yeah.
but anything really. So we've already handed some management over. We're just going to do less management and more, for us, high impact work. And again, that's one of the lessons I spoke about earlier when I said there's some things we've just taken too long to do and to learn. And that's one of them, frankly. We should have switched up a long time ago, got rid of the stuff that isn't the most high impact, that brings in the biggest results, and double down on that instead. Same thing with the social media. I should have prioritized, I'm only doing it now, I should have prioritized my work around, for me, social media was always the side thing. It's a bit like, how people, do you know, the same way people procrastinate with starting a business is the same way I kind of procrastinate with social media. It's kind of like, yeah, I know it's important, but I'll just kind of post every now and again. And then a post will blow and it'll get me like 20,000 followers. It's crazy. But it was always like, I'll get round to it. And when I started to, I'd done an assessment basically, a few assessments. And when I looked at social media and the impact it had and what results I had from it, it was disproportionate to the effort I put in. It just didn't make sense. I couldn't understand how relative little effort was going into socials and the reward that was coming out the other end. It just, every time I've done an assessment, it just doesn't make sense. What am I doing? And so now I've realised, actually, you're a fool. Get rid of the stuff that doesn't drive high impact, like management. Yeah, okay, fine, it's millions of pounds in rent roll, but someone else can manage it, give them an extra fee, we make a slightly less money on management, but our biggest gains are in the rental profit and in the capital appreciation. So we continue to get that benefit, although we lose a little bit. I can get another deal through the business and make up, tenfold or more than the saving we would have made by managing it and have more time. So that's one of the items. That's another item. So that is a priority. Socials. Prioritize socials because the return's crazy. And so that's one of the things. The other thing is just making sure I'm focusing on tasks that bring me the best value.
Yeah. So I know we touched on it briefly earlier, but I guess now, given where you are in terms of life and husband, father to two children, you mentioned obviously you spend time going out sourcing deals and stuff like that. So again, how are you striking that balance now that you're at a slightly different stage of life?
So this is one of the things I've not done enough of recently, is striking new deals, going out there that they're brought to us, fortunately. But that's something I intend to change. In fact, that's one of the things. It's one of the reasons why. I'm like, it's like flogging a dead horse almost in a sense. It's when I repeat this, the more I do in terms of marketing, the less I have to do elsewhere, the less selling I have to do, the less showing up in person I have to do, because I'm already in someone's phone, I'm already there.
Yeah.
So that it's freed me up. So I actually, because I'm changing up what I'm doing, it's slightly freed me up to be more present as a father and a husband. Do you know what I mean? So
it's grinding in the early stages to be able to afford that time.
You definitely got to grind in the early stages, but you just make the time. But there's no balance. Could I be more present? Yes, I could. I definitely could. Do I? Could I work more on my business? Yes, I could.
Yeah.
But there's never going to be. There's never going to be a perfect formula. I think you just got to make a decision, accept your decision.
Yeah.
You make your decision, understand why you've made it and what the outcomes are and the impact, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So if you've accepted, so like for us, we've switched up what we're doing in terms of schooling. So we've taken our kids out of school, and we've got our own teacher. So we've decided to go down that route and get a private teacher for our kids, because we don't think they need as much time in school. We agreed it. They don't need to spend. The school day for our kids was quite long, because there's like after school club and all this other stuff. So it's basically like a 9-hour day. It's a long day, and so you're not really seeing them. And sometimes they're little nut jobs anyway, so you need a little rest. You need a little rest from them. But it wasn't really quality time in the week. It was only a bit of time, only really quality time during the weekend, and then it's also sports activities, kickboxing, football. And so like, what extra time are you spending? So we there's changes we've made just to make our sort of quality time, or to spend more quality time with them.
Yeah.
So I think look, if I'm not one, I don't talk a lot about relationships or give relationship advice. I don't think I want to, or I'm in a position to. Just like I wouldn't give advice on fatherhood either. I just think is what it is, right? If you ask, you ask. But one thing I will say about relationships, especially when you're starting a business early on, I was already in business, so it was always I was part of me. So any addition to my life, like family, kids, friends, it was always that with business. Business was already there. It wasn't. So that's one thing that was slightly easier for me. If it comes afterwards, business, you've just got to over communicate. That's what I would say. You got to over communicate with your kids, your family, your partner, and let them know this is what I'm working on. This is what I need to achieve.
Yeah.
This is what the intention is. This is what it's going to take in terms of time, and this is what it could mean for you. And here's the plan of how I plan to get around it. And it's just over communicating that. That's all I would say. And you try and figure it out. It's not going to be easy, and you kind of need a supportive partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not an easy thing to. It's not an easy thing to navigate.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. It's how bad you want it.
Yeah. How bad. Conscious of time, so I'll start bringing proceedings to an end. But before I do that, few more questions. So, your mid-30s, let's double that, 70, roughly around typical retirement age. What do things have to look like? What do the next, or at that point, the previous 35 years had to have looked like for you to kind of sit back and say, yeah, I've done the damn thing?
I think definitely a lot of giving. I want to give to a lot of courses. Money, not just time. I mean, as in, I've generated a lot of money through business. And I've given it away to a lot of causes, and it's created positive impact. So I'd like to think I've given a significant amount of resources to help people away. So I definitely want to be in that position and be spending more time on philanthropic ventures at that stage. What else would I have done? I definitely, when it comes to family-related kids, I just want my... I mean, by that stage, right, my kids will be in their 40s. It's crazy. So I would say I'd like to think they're established and very confident and very comfortable in what they're doing and in themselves. So hopefully that's been an area that I've been able to perform in, because that's important. You know, they've not asked to come into this world, so you want to be able to you want to create some kind of human that's a functioning, not just a functioning, a thriving individual. And in business, I think for sure I've got the ability and the desire to at least take a company public at some point. So definitely take a company public. Doesn't have to be real estate related. Definitely be involved in more general business transactions, not just specifically real estate, because I can do real estate all day long, but I think my skill set at some point in the future can be applied to non real estate related business. I'll always do real estate though. And what else would be good? I think for sure it's just to have given more than you've taken, right? Way more. Way more.
I like that. Only because you mentioned about the going public in the future, I'm going to ask this question. I wasn't going to ask it, but I will, because I'm genuinely just curious. How do you compete with the big boys out there, the big developers, your corporates, your PLCs? How do you compete with them?
I don't compete. I mean, some of them are so big in stature that we're just, I'm not even a blip on their radar anyway, so I'm no issue to them. And likewise, some of them are doing some cookie cutter type product and offering that I just think we stand out from. Yeah. So I just think, again, non-issue. So I'm not really, I think I'm just in my own lane, and whatever I do in future, I think I'd like to think we're doing it that way. I think we're just going to aggressively do what we do and improve on socials and put out some proper quality related products and services and content relating to those things. Yeah. And just do it my own way. I want to continue to be truly me and authentic. I don't think I'm not your, I mean, it's changing now, but I don't think I'm your typical person in business. For a long time, I was one of the younger people. I'm not now. It's mad. This is what I mean about running out of time. You've got to be quick. Yeah. But for a while, I was seen as like the younger guy.
Well, we were in a room full of Gen Zs on Saturday. So.
Yeah, and I was one of the old ones there, man. I felt that. Definitely felt that. Yeah. I looked at some of those kids. I'm like, how old are you? Just like questioning my own. Yeah. Oh, you like 15? No, I'm 20. Like, why'd you look 15?
Well, there's like
just look extra young. Some of them don't know. It's just it makes you question your.
There's that Anya guy that stood out for me, man. Like, I don't even remember the guy that got off on stage, but when Denzel was like, "I'll support, plug your business," basically. Yeah. Anya, 18-year-old, gets up. He's got all the charisma in the world, man. I was just looking at him thinking, "Yeah, you love that far, man."
I mean, some of the kids in that room, some of the generation that they get criticised, but there's some like superstars, man.
Honestly, it's crazy.
There are some little shitters. But that's in every generation.
This is it.
But there are some little shits, man. But I would say there's some absolute superstars. Like I think the best is yet to come. I think what we're about to see. I think it's also the access they've got, because I wish I had access to that kind of information they have now. Yeah. Like what they're doing now, 18, 19-year-olds talking about rent to rent. I don't think I had access to that stuff. I don't know if that was around. I don't think it was as available and as known. In fact, it wasn't. Some of the opportunities out there, especially online, it wasn't as. And then, I was speaking to my nephew yesterday, 16. He said he's looking for a new job, part-time job. I said to him, yeah, that's cool, but have you looked online? Like, there's kids. I was in Dubai recently. I met a few 18-year-old kids. I've got my don't know how much this Apple Watch is. Doesn't really matter. A few hundred quid, if that. These kids are wearing 50 grand Rolexes. Yeah, I run a social media agency. I run this, I run that, blah, blah, blah. I'm making this. There was one kid I met. He came up to me. So I was in the lobby of this hotel, just doing a bit of work, and he came up to me and said, I just wanted to come and talk to you. I wanted to... The confidence levels.
Yeah, it's
high.
Mad. It's mad.
High. Confidence levels were high. So some of the generations, absolutely, it's phenomenal. They're phenomenal. There's a lot. I think we're going to see something special.
You're not wrong. Right, I've got some quick fire questions for you.
Fire.
Early mornings or late nights?
Early mornings.
Same, to be fair. Buy and hold or build and flip?
Do I have to pick one or the other?
Yeah. Anthony's a quick fire, you know. What's going on here?
There's no right answer. I'm going to buy and hold.
Cool. This one I think I might know the answer. Big risk, big reward, or slow and steady?
No, big risk, big reward.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. Work from home or office vibes?
Office.
Bro, you said you don't use this space. What do you mean?
Yeah, we don't use this space, but we've got other bases.
Okay, fair enough.
But I don't think you can. If you're going to grow a team and grow it fast and grow it powerfully, I think you need to be together.
What's your most used app on your phone?
Gmail.
Fair. Well, you may have referenced them earlier, potentially. Who inspires you in business?
Future me.
Nice, okay. Nice. What would you be doing if not property?
M&A.
Yeah, makes sense. One word your friends would use to describe you?
Stubborn.
One word your business acquaintances / JV partners would use to describe you?
Dogged.
And finish a sentence. I would like to be known as... So like in the future, I would like to be known as...
Real.
You're not real now?
No, I'm still real. No, a bit like Still Dre. Still Ant.
I hear it. I hear it. Hey, Anthony, that was sensational stuff. I appreciate your time so much, man. Again, especially the speed in which we made this happen. I do greatly appreciate it. Your time is not taken for granted, man. Finally, where can the people find you?
Thanks for having me, by the way. People can find me Instagram, YouTube. My YouTube's on a restart now. I did a video that did really well. I did organically 800,000 views. So just follow my YouTube, just Anthony Laville, Laville, and all the other good places, TikTok and the rest of it.
Nice. I'll make sure to put them in the description below. But no, Anthony, again, thank you so much. I do greatly appreciate it. It's definitely been the drive up here was definitely worth it. I'll put it that way. But no, appreciate it so much, man. Guys, there we have it. Another episode in the bag. Anthony Laville, big time property developer based up in Birmingham City. Oh my gosh, the gems in this one, guys. It's getting ridiculous. Honestly, it's getting ridiculous. What an episode. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. People, if you're not doing that, if you're not sharing with friends and you're not passing these gems on to them, I don't know what you're doing, man, because we need to inspire the people to get started. You heard it here. Anthony just making up as he goes along, ultimately. Making it up as he goes along. Vibes. Doesn't know the answer. He just asks and he just runs with it. So guys, make sure you're doing that. But listen, I've been your host, Bainey. This has been the Blackprint. I've been with my guest, fantastic guest, Anthony Laville. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.